Okay, we're back with this 1973 homemade motorcycle. This is part 3. The last video I made was pathetic in my opinion, but maybe all the videos I make are pathetic, I don't know. There's been a few changes on it. I couldn't stand it. I went through the carburetor again, and I bought a kit off of eBay to kind of rebuild the carburetor. And pretty much every part that I got in the kit was wrong. This is a S&S Cycles Super E Shorty carburetor, and the kit said it was good for S&S E carburetors and G carburetors. The O-rings for the bladder and the bladder for like the accelerator pump. Well, the O-rings were smaller in diameter, but yet smaller in diameter by size of the O-ring and thickness, but they were bigger than the actual area that they needed to go in. And there was 3 of them, and all 3 wouldn't fit. Well, I didn't even try. It also came with a spring, and the 2 ball bearings. The spring was longer than the original spring, so I put the original 2 ball bearings in and the original spring in. The bladder was actually oversized. The bladder was probably an 1/8 of an inch bigger in diameter than the original bladder. The spring was oversized as well, and so I had to put the original bladder in it. I had to put the original spring in it. The only thing that was usable was the bladder, or not the bladder. The only thing that was usable in this kit was, probably the reflection's bad there, was the gasket between the float bowl and the carburetor itself. You can see how big the O-rings were. The O-rings are like half that size. The bladder was too big. The O-rings for the intake manifold, they were wrong. They're too big in diameter. These are like maybe, I don't know, I wouldn't even say 90 thousandths, but the other ones that are for the intake manifold on both sides, they're like 60 thousandths in diameter. Here's one of the other smaller O-rings that's supposed to go in there. It didn't fit. And here's the spring, the bigger spring. That was worthless. The accelerator pump spring, and that's a brass shaft. And so I just left I kept it with the original steel shaft in it. So I mean, it was junk. And so I've put a request for return. I show pictures. Here's the spring. I don't know if you can see it in there. That's the spring that goes in with the O-rings. It was too long. So anyway, I rebuilt the carburetor. It's right now. There was a couple of passages that were kind of messed up, so I got those corrected. I put the buckhorn handlebars on it just because I had them. I tried to do some wiring, but the wire harness for the switch, for this switch, is really too short. The horn, the color, the horn wire to get to the horn is black, and it was too short, so I didn't hook that up. The starter button, it reaches because it's the same length as the horn button. This is just aftermarket stuff, so it fit. To get the brake to work correctly because of this accelerator, the throttle, this is too long, so I had to move the clamp for the brake down in front of the starter button. That's not correct, but once this goes away and we go with an internal throttle cable, then this brake can come back over here where it belongs. So that's going on. So let's see how well it runs now. So let me turn the gas on. I'm over here. Alright, let's turn this gas on. We can. Alright, I'll head it towards reserve. I don't know how much gas is in it. Alright, so gas is close to reserve. So that's there. Let's give it some choke or enrichment. So it chokes up. Alright, key on. And let's see if she fire up. Gotta let it warm up a little bit. It wouldn't even do that before. Something there. Not getting any fuel? I don't know. Try it again. Might not be any gas in it. I don't know. A little more idle. That's pretty good. Alright, so the idling pretty good. A little fast probably. I haven't changed the oil or anything in it. The oil probably needs to be changed. And I haven't drained the gas. I just added gas to it. So I don't know how great that is. But I didn't change the spark plug. All I did is I went in and I adjusted, well, I rebuilt the carburetor. I rebuilt it twice. I don't know if it's got a vacuum leak. Turn that in a little bit. About there. that's feels like it hit right on both of them. Not bad. I'm going to go in and adjust the valves. I don't know how you know, what's been done in there. This is basically a stock bike. I don't think anything's done other than I commented on the last video about possibly the cylinder, the top end being gone through. But it definitely needs to be rewired. It definitely needs to be rewired. Turn the gas off. Turn the switch off. So yeah, it needs a new wiring harness, just like the 73 that I have. Somebody's gone in there and just messed with it, and so, you know, I don't, you know, the light circuit, you know, everything, it needs to be checked out, find out what's going on. It's just like I showed you before in there, the oil pressure switch. I mean, that's just loosened. The wires, I'm not going to get in there and touch it again because it's hot. But the wire there, I mean, that screw head's just loosened there. It's trash. So that wouldn't work even if it was hooked up. But it certainly looks a lot better with the buckhorns back on it. I mean, that's, you know, I'm all about the originality of the bike, so they're not in the same alignment, so they need to be aligned a little better. So anyway, I got to go in and find out about this seat, what's going on with it, why it is what it's doing, and figure that out. I'm going to look for shocks, see if I can find shocks. The shocks should be for like 14 inches, and those are like 13s or 12s and a halves. I don't know what they came off with. They may be off of a newer 883. The chain guard is 72 and up to I think 78. The exhausts, they're cool. I mean, they're in reasonably good shape. I'm not going to mess with those. The oil tank, that's correct. It's in really good condition. It's got the original oil filter in there. So the bones are here, and I did get a horn. I bought a horn for it off of Evil Bay. There's the horn. I've got the cover, the valve cover. That's the carburetor. That's the battery box. I had to buy a top for it, but I had the side cover for the battery box. That's the speedometers. The speedometer intact. I have that. Also had to buy a, this is a trans drives for Speedo, 70 or 54 to 72, and that is the correct one because it's coming off the trans, which tells me that engine has got to be a 72 or earlier. The clutch cable's wrong, so that has to be replaced. And so I'm just going to go through it as I have time and parts, and see what I can do to bring it back to life. I'm going to pull that carburetor off of it now because I don't think the carburetor is the issue now. And start tearing it down a little bit. I really would like to ride it first, and I might do that before I take it all apart. but I gotta get the clutch cable fixed before I can go any further with it. So anyhow, headlight did work. I don't know what's wrong with it now. I don't know if the switch is bad. I didn't test those switches. I just stuck them in there. So I don't know if it's right or not. So anyhow, this is part 3 of the 1973 homemade motorcycle that certainly looks like a 1972 and earlier Harley Davidson Sportster, and gee, ironically, even the name tag says it's an XLH Sportster. So I'm guessing that's probably what this is. So why it ever got VIN'd the way it did, we'll never know. But it runs. I need to go through and check the valves, see the lifters and see how loose they are. But anyhow, this is part 3. Stay tuned, there'll be more. This is going to go through a little transition. I think I know what I'm going to do with it. These are cool old bikes, and I think I got an idea where I want to take this to make it look like an earlier original bike. And we'll go through all that, and I'll explain in more detail once we get further into the bike. It's just the wiring is atrocious, and I want to make sure all the wiring is good and everything. Before you get too far into it, you want to check everything out. And I guess I'm going to leave it as a Sportster with the shorter tube forks in it. I don't see any reason to change that. It is what it is, and that's what it was born with. That's what it was born with. So anyhow, I'm going to sign off now. Here again, this is a 1973 homemade job, and just wanted to show you that it runs really good now that it has a cleaned out carburetor, S&S carburetor, Super E in it. So thanks for watching. We'll have more. Bye.